under our Constitution, I cannot run again. I can't run again. I actually think I'm a pretty good president. I think if I ran, I could win. But I can't.
Obviously, the president joking around with the crowd in Ethiopia. But the question is he right? Could he win again? We told you yesterday about certainly in fourth quarter of his presidency, the most objective folks would say been going pretty well for him, reflected even in the polls here. Could he ride that momentum into a third term if he were allowed to run again? And obviously you put that in context. We don't know who the Republican nominee is. Let's say we assume that Hillary comes out of the Democratic side. Do you think that there's too much fatigue for any president, but especially this president where America wants to turn the page? Or do you think that, you know what, with the options of either Hillary on the Democratic side or whoever emerges from a muddled field on the Republican side, America would pick him again?
Well, I think the thing is the enthusiasm factor. That, you know, there's a lot of people who don't like him, that's a given, and a larger number. But he still excites people, as I was saying to Dominic earlier, who may not be counted as the traditional Democratic base, young people, African Americans who don't vote, Latinos who don't generally vote. He expands the electorate by his electricity, and I don't think you can discount it. People are like, oh, he's a has-been. No, he wasn't a has-been on the second go-round. He did extremely well. And he still brings a certain excitement. I have no idea whether he could win, but I don't think you should discount the sort of magnetism that he brings to this expanded electorate.
And you know, from a timeline standpoint, Dominic, and obviously we're talking hypotheticals, everyone, but the economy's picking up. Many people estimate that come next November, we're going to probably be at our highest full employment numbers that we've seen in a long time, certainly since '08. And more than that, he's using executive orders on issues that may be controversial, but at the end of the day, if you look at the polling, people are coming around to at least his side of view on it. You think faced with Hillary, that at least among Democrats, people would say, you know what, I have buyer's remorse. We would have had let more professionalism in the White House the last 6 years. We went with choice B. Or do you think the people say the more they see Hillary on it, that there's more stilted, more formulaic, that they've gotten to like this guy more, at least on the Democratic side?
Well, I mean, keeping in mind this is a hypothetical, but the woman we're looking at right now, if Obama could run for a third term, she, 99% would not be a candidate. Look at his re-election bid a couple of years ago. He was not really challenged on the Democratic side. There's a reason why it's called the power of incumbency. It comes with enormous benefits. And the Assemblywoman is right, well, as far as this expanding the base. Remember, this guy is not your traditional candidate. He would win if he could run in a landslide for term number 3. There would be no Republican that could take him on at Jeb Bush. I mean, I just don't see it, and beat him. And the reason why, remember, you have to give him at least 5 points lead for all the base that he has expanded. Remember the record turnout of blacks in 2012.
But you know what, to his point though, I have to go back until the end of Reagan's second term. Remember when I remember we went out on the second floor of the balcony here and the folks were there with the signs, you know, let's change basically the law here to let you run for third. Even Clinton obviously dogged by scandal at the end. I think that there's a built-in fatigue after 8 years, at least with the modern electorate. They want change. Do you think that he'd buck the trend given, you know, some of the uncertainty on the right and also what he's dealing with on the left, or no?
I think it comes down to a very simple rule. The devil you know is better than the devil you don't. We know all about him. We see him. Whether you like his policies or not, he's engaging, okay? All the other candidates have issues. I mean, people are already tired. I think they're tired of all the nonsense. I think they vote for Obama just not to have to go through that. I mean, there's a real, you know, we know him already. Let's move on.
No. Yeah, first, your review of presidential fatigue, I think you forgot about Iran-Contra. I think you have to go all the way back to, even though Bush won, there was still a scandal in the second half of the Reagan administration.
I remember when he left, there was this whole Morning in America vibe that, I'm not saying he would or wouldn't have, that's the last time I remember a president where people were like just celebrating him on the way out.
I would suggest you might have to go back to Eisenhower. Yes, he would win the Democratic nomination. Yes, he would win re-election.
I don't know if he'd beat Hillary, but it would be interesting nonetheless. All right, time, of course, for the Comb-Over Report. The Donald, he is doubling Jeb Bush in the latest New Hampshire poll voters, and you can't make this up here. The public, whatever it's worth, at least in these early primary states, they're buying this act, but many GOP operatives are not. They say that Trump bump is largely due to just intense media attention and the, quote, circus-like atmosphere surrounding him. Now, I know Republican operatives would like to believe that, but do you think that it's all, just helium with no substance underneath? Or did he tap into something, albeit with ugly rhetoric, about Mexicans and about some of the other less than genteel things he's had to say here? Has he tapped into a vein of primary Republican electorate voters where he's given those people what they want to hear?
It's akin, the whole thing with the Republicans, to world wrestling, pro wrestling. I mean, the guy who can take the chair and smash it faster, and and he falls down. This
Devil
guy
in
gets,
pro wrestling, right? You're really building yourself on politics.
You're insulting pro wrestling.
I know, yeah, they actually get paid well for doing that. Look, I think he's hit a few nerves, but he's good at this, throwing a thing out there, and it makes the news. So he's doubled or tripled. I think, Dominic, you would know, the headlines in every newspaper, because he makes these flat-out statements, wrong or right, or even well thought out, and he gets press on it. I don't think it lasts. I don't think this is not. I said this before on your show. People vote for a president too, or I should say also, because of whether they like him or not. In the end, I don't think Trump is likable. He's not a likable candidate. He is boisterous. He is, he plays the, to the weakest areas. I don't think he ultimately is electable. And I think, this is a moment in time.
The only thing, and I'm not coming around completely to Dominic's thinking here that we're missing the boat on the Donald, but Andrew, I do look at the rest of the field and say, who's commanding to demand the alternative of the public, for the alternatives for these folks here? Nobody's stepping out and distinguishing themselves other than the Huckabee with the oven comments, or people putting what was it that Ron Paul put in a chipper, or you have the cell phone of Lindsey Graham and the rest. He may be a clown car, but he's driving the thing.
They don't have to take him on yet. The only people who have to worry about their positioning right now are the ones at the bottom of that poll. Cruz, Perry, Christie, and the people who aren't on that page, because they might not get into the first debate. That's really the only if you're Scott Walker, if you're Marco Rubio, if you're Jeb Bush, why would you take on Donald Trump right now?
Okay, well,
he's going to deflate. He's going to go down.
I'll first guess this, Dominic, before it happens. When the first debate's over and they all walk off the stage, do people turn around and say, geez, Trump actually won the thing, or Trump actually did better than the rest of them?
Yes.
You think so?
I know so.
But will they say he's a president? Will they say he's presidential?
They'll start looking at him presidential. I don't know. This ride is going to stop. I just don't know when. I'm not dismissing this guy being a serious contender for the Republican nomination. The more the pundits hate on him, the more his numbers are going to go up.
But Dominic, you can't run a campaign by calling everybody stupid, arrogant, calling people ugly. I mean, you can't win on that kind of thing.
I want to agree with you, but let's look at the alternative county executive. I mean, I almost wish you were a presidential candidate, because we have candidates out there with double talk and they say absolutely nothing. And they're boring. And then you got Trump. He's firing from the hip, and everybody loves a winner. That's the bottom line.
Anybody who likes him?
No, and I agree that at the end he's not likable, but I agree with Dominic that his run is much longer than everybody anticipated. And this idea, it'll blow over. No, it's not going to blow over right away. He struck a chord, and he combines that with so much media attention. It's very difficult for one of these so-called boring guys to break in. There's no one paying any attention to the boring people.
They're all going to start wearing these hats.
Well, they're going to have to do something. They're going to have to wear. Yeah, break it over his head.
Well, we did that with the cell phone. We've almost gotten there.
Jeb Bush is going to be, the debate is a week from Thursday. Jeb Bush is going to be in trouble, because it's going to be like, and then Donald Trump is going to respond.
Just think what we've come to, that if you don't say something outlandish, you're not going to win.
He could say something in the next week that kills him. He's that close to the
I thought he's already said 3 things that would have killed him, but he hasn't apparently.
I think he's getting closer.
When we come back closer to home, New York State will soon start awarding medical marijuana licenses, but the question is the process. such a smokescreen, a company could wind up selling the stuff right near your home and you wouldn't be any the wiser. We'll talk about that after this.